The Sermon on the Mount, Part 2, Matthew 5:38 through 48, and 6, 1 through 18. Now to continue with the messages we shared on the mountainside. The mountain was not your Mount Everest, but it was higher than a small hill, with a natural amphitheater where one could be seated around it, and we had what you call in this day a time a rap session. And what you have recorded in your holy scriptures, known as the Sermon on the Mount, are the answers which were given to the questions. For indeed ones came to me and asked me questions the same as you have done and continue to do in this day and time. Master, Rabbi, what is good about life? How do I live this life knowing the abundance of the Father? What is truly important? What about all the thorny questions of the world? For indeed at that time there were the thorny questions as well as now. If someone does something to me, how should I respond? I have a brother-in-law who has always been mean to me. Every time I see him, he is very nasty in what he said. I have co-workers who take great delight in pointing out what they think is wrong with me. I have a mate who never seems to be happy with me. I've had a brother take some of my possessions from me, etc. They've asked the questions of the world. And I answered, Ye have heard it said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. In other words, if somebody is nasty to you, then you are allowed to be nasty to them. If someone steals from you, then you are allowed to steal from them. If someone is going to do bodily harm to you, then you are allowed to do bodily harm to them. That is what has been said. But I say unto you, that you resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. In other words, do not be caught up in what you see as being wrong. And if any man will sue thee at the law, and take away thy coat, let him have thy cloak also. Say to him, Here, have it. I know where this came from, I can make more. You are the one who manifests the garments which you wear. You are the one who manifests whatever you are experiencing. And whosoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him 2 miles. It was the law in that day that you could be compelled by an authority, the Romans, to go a mile with them to carry their baggage. You as an ordinary person seem to be a bit lower in the caste system, could be asked to be a servant to them. So I answered that. If one would ask you to go a mile, which was the law at that time, go 2 and be jolly about it. Give to them that asketh thee, and from him that would borrow of thee turn not away. Freely you have been given of the Father's abundance, and freely give. Do not focus on what you have judged to be wrong, or even what the world would allow you to say was wrong. Do not focus on the nasty words which another has spoken to you. Do not feel the victim if another one asks you to do something for them. If someone says something nasty to them, give them a smile. They will wonder what is going on. If someone takes something from you, give it to them freely. If they would borrow from you, say, Yes, of course, I have more where this came from. Give it to them freely. If someone requires of you that you work overtime, say, Yes, of course. I am here as a servant of my Father. I have agreed that I will be upon this earth in the reality for a time interval, and during that time, in truth, it matters not whether I labor in the fields, or if I labor within the office, or if I labor within the schoolroom, or if I labor at the seamstressing, etc. What matters is how I do the work. And why does that matter? Because it matters to you. You are the one who has to live with your attitude and consciousness. Therefore say unto another one, Freely I give to you my time, for in truth I give it to the Father. Then there was another question which had been asked, and the answer was, Ye have heard that it had been said, Thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. Sounds a bit like this day and time. I love all those who are my group, who think like I do, all those who are my political persuasion, or all those who go to my church, etc. But I say unto you, Love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. Why? Because again, you are the one living in your consciousness. You are the one who is either going to be living in heaven as you bless the other ones, or living in hell as you hold the other ones accountable for whatever you are judging them to be guilty of. Love your neighbor. Love those who think like you do, or of course, and love those who think differently, and allow yourself the opportunity then to delve a bit deeper into what all the adventure is about. For those who are of another mind, and they may be very, very intensely into it, and want you to be in it with them, are your teachers. They have come to show you the whole smorgasbord of the creative Holy Child, and all that what the child will put on the table to sample. It doesn't mean that you have to eat the whole soup tureen of green pea soup if you don't like green pea soup, but you can taste it so at least you know what it is, and then celebrate the creativity of the smorgasbord. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that you may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. In other words, you will know the joy of living in the consciousness of heaven. Let others be about their business if it is the business of judgment, the business of despitefully using others. Let that be where they are, but choose you to be the child of your Father and to dwell in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. Your Father sees everyone equally. Your Father does not see even the unjust, for that is a judgment of the world. The Father only looks upon the holy child at play. For if ye love them which love you, what reward have you? Do not even the publicans the same? In other words, the unawakened ones. Do not even the unawakened ones do such? And if you salute your brethren only, what you do more than others? Do not even the unawakened ones the same? Be you therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. Remember that you are perfect, and abide in heaven with your Father. Take heed that you do not do your alms before men, to be seen of them. Otherwise you have no reward of your Father which is in heaven. In other words, you don't have to make a great show of your charity and your good deeds, for if you do, where is the focus of your attention? Upon the goodness you are doing, not upon your Father in heaven. Therefore, when thou doest thine alms, do not sound a trumpet before thee, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may have glory of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. If you sound your trumpet and you say, Look how good I am, you have your reward right then. It is temporal and fleeting. Next day you have to do something even greater to keep the attention of the world. But when thou doest alms, let not thy left hand know what thy right hand doeth, that thine alms may be in secret, and the Father which seeth in secret himself shall reward thee openly. When you give a gift to anyone, a gift of love, a gift of service, a gift of tangible goods, if you make a great show of it, your focus is upon that show, and you have your reward right then and there. But if you give out love and joy, caring not whether anyone knows about it, you have your reward in your heart. And it will be seen openly, because there will be a peace and a radiance about you, a knowing of love which has flowed through you and has touched you in the process. It will be quite obvious, and yet you have not sought it for the reasons. This has to do with focus. If you are focusing upon reward, you will get the reward, but it will be passing. If you are focusing upon love and service to another one because you are in love with them, in oneness with them, you have the greatest reward of all, for you know heaven. And when thou prayest, thou shalt not be as the hypocrites are, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the corner of the street, that they may be seen of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. But thou, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet. Go within yourself to the sacred place of the heart, the place of true communion. And when thou hast shut the door, in other words, shutting out all the world thoughts, all the activity of the world mind, all the chatter, pray to thy Father which is in secret, which is within, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. You will have your reward in knowing the divine grace of peace, of having touched the place of true communion. And I say unto you that once you have touched the place of true communion, never will you be the same in the world again. You cannot be. But when you pray, use not vain repetition as the heathen do, for they think that they shall be heard for their much speaking. Does this happen in your day and time? Be not ye therefore like unto them, for your Father knoweth what things you have need of before you ask him. In other words, let your words be yes, yes, and no, no. Keep a simplicity about your words, even in speaking with your Father. You do not have to use the King James Version to speak to your Father. You do not have to use all the lofty religious words. You do not have to search about to find just the right way to explain everything to the Father, so that perhaps he will understand what you need. Speak with simplicity, the desire of your heart. For indeed the speaking is not important except for you to have clarity about that which you would ask for. For the Father knoweth already that which you need. Then I was asked, well, how should we pray to the Father, this Father that you tell us of? How do I talk to him? And I said, after this manner therefore pray you. And I gave forth an example which has come to be known as the Lord's Prayer. Then there was a question about a ritual which was greatly favored as a religious spiritual practice in that day and time. It is also something which is done in this day and time. There was a question about fasting. Have you tried it? Yes, you have tried it. In truth, you have fasted through the night, and then you broke the fast in the morning. You see, it is no biggie. So if anyone asks of you, have you fasted? You say, yes, of course, I do it every night. Moreover, when you fast, be not as the hypocrite of sad countenance, for they disfigure their faces, that they may appear unto men to fast. In other words, it's a serious business. I must look properly serious, a long countenance. Now those of you who have tried fasting for a length of period have felt a certain lightness which has come after a period of fasting. These ones who would make such a show of fasting, I say unto you, did not actually know it. For had they had known true fasting, they would have felt a certain well-being. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. But thou, when thou fast, anoint thy head. In other words, wash your hair. Don't go with a long countenance and dirty hair and say, how wonderfully holy I am denying the body. Anoint thy head and wash thy face, that thou appear not unto men to fast, but unto thy Father which is in secret within. That is what in secret means, within. And thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. Again, the reward will be in the change in consciousness within you, for you will know a peace which goes beyond world understanding. I would suggest you try fasting from the physical food once in a while just for the experience of it, not because it will make you any more holy, for you are already holy, not because it is going to make you any more spiritual, for you are already spiritual, and not because you are going to get 100 gold stars in heaven. You already have more than 100 gold stars. But more important than fasting from the physical food is for you to fast from judgment, from limited self-image, from the temptation to say that there could be anything wrong with yourself or others. Allow yourself a detachment even from the body of thoughts which would suggest to you that you have to keep feeding the body of thought the negative judgments. Allow yourself to remember once again that you are the master of your thoughts. You are the master of your body. You are the master of all you experience.